Hi there, this is Tony from pianotone.ca, and this is my summary/preliminary review on the Casio PX-S3000 digital piano. I will have a much longer and much more comprehensive video coming soon. Once I do, I will link to it below. The PX-S3000 and its younger sibling, the PX-S1000, were released in 2019, and then in late 2021, new versions of those pianos, the 1100 and the 3100, were announced. And FYI, at least in my opinion, the new versions are not significant upgrades from the prior versions. So for the most part, you can also consider this a review on the 3100. I will go over some of the minor differences through the course of this video. So I bought a PXS 1100 in late 2021. I absolutely loved the action. It's my favorite action on any digital piano I've ever tried. And the sounds and the portability are fantastic. But I did find after a bit that the lack of a user interface and the removal of the 1/8 inch audio in port to be kind of frustrating. I had hopes that the Chordana Play for Piano app, and now the new Casio Music Space app, would be a good substitute for a user interface, but for me that didn't turn out to be the case. So when I saw that my local music store was deeply discounting PXS 3000s to be cheaper than the PXS 1100 because of the new version of the 3000 was out now, I managed to work out a pretty fair trade to swap my 1100 for a 3000, and I could not be happier. I've only had the 3000 for a week or two so far, but I wanted to get a preliminary review and kind of an initial reaction video out right away, so let's check it out. Okay, so the user interface. In a word, awesome. The Casio PX-S3000 uses the same light-up capacitive touch controls similar to the feel of a cell phone that the 1100 had. They're super easy to use and to register a touch. There is a small but super useful 3-line LCD screen that shows your current voices and important settings. Would be nicer if the screen was a little bit bigger, but just having it there and having some of the basic things shown, fantastic. The general setup of the user interface is the rhythm and accompaniment control is on the left side of the screen, and the right side has context-sensitive drill-down menus for selecting your voices, then your rhythms, then some control settings, and then registrations. I've heard from some reviewers that feel that the user interface on the PXS3000 can be challenging to use because there's a lot of deeply nested functions, but since this piano has so many settings and functions available, I think this is fine. With the massive amount of functionality this piano offers, you can't really get around that. When I first got the piano, it took me a bit to get used to how the navigation worked, but once I did, I find it to be extremely logical and super easy to navigate. And I rarely need to look up anything in the manual, and I haven't once felt the need to start using the Chordana Play for Piano app. Okay, the keys. 88 full-sized, fully weighted, graded hammer action keys. It's Casio's smart scaled hammer action with 6 levels of touch sensitivity, so 5 plus fixed, and a simulated ebony and ivory matte finish on all the keys. I was super relieved that the action on the PXS 3000 feels exactly the same as the action on my PXS 1100 did. I wasn't sure if Casio had changed the action at all, and if they did, it's not anything that I noticed, so super happy about that. This is, as I said before, this is by far my favorite action on any digital piano I've rented or owned. It's light and fast, but it feels super solid and it is so easy to play, and the matte finish really adds a lot to the feeling of being in control while I'm playing. It's a bit lighter than the action on my Yamaha P125 I used to own, which I did like, and it is considerably lighter than Roland's PHA4 action on the FP30 that I used to own, which I found to be a bit heavy. The PHA4 action on the Roland FP series is definitely a more closer representation of an acoustic piano action. It's heavier than the Casio, it's got triple sensors and escapement. But replicating acoustic piano action isn't super important to me, so that's not an issue. The Casio is what feels best to me, and action is a very personal thing. Regarding all the online controversy about the black keys being weighted less than the white keys, I talked about that at length in my PXS 1100 review, and I will discuss it again in my full review on the PXS 3000. But to suffice it to say, to me, this is a total non-issue. It's not something that I notice, and it doesn't affect my play in any way. If you're an advanced classical player that is accustomed to expensive acoustic pianos, then maybe you might notice something, but I do not. The voices. There are a whopping 700 voices on the Casio PX-S 3000. There's 24 pianos, 24 electric pianos, 32 organs, 18 strings, 45 pads, and then tons of every other instrument you can think of. Wind instruments, guitars, basses, horns, ethnic instruments, etc. And I should note that after a quick examination of the voice list on the 3000 and the new version, the 3100, they appear to be identical. The voices are easy to navigate to. They're broken down into categories on the user interface and then subcategories, so pretty easy to scroll through. Although I'm not usually one to dive too deep into tons of different voice selections, I have to say there are some amazing piano and electric piano variations and tons of pads, which I really like to use for layering. In particular, I do want to mention the stage piano voice, which might be my favorite overall digital piano voice ever. Most manufacturers, Casio included, will have their most full, detailed, and nuanced piano sample as their main sample, and the PX-S3000 does this as well with the grand piano concert voice, which is an awesome voice and sounds fantastic on its own. But as is the case with other manufacturers, while these voices do sound amazing on their own, if you're playing along with a band or backing tracks or something, a lot of the detail and that nuance can kind of get lost in the mix. So I would often, in that situation, choose a brighter piano sound instead. But those sounds are seldom as detailed and nuanced as the main voice. That's where the stage piano voice comes in. It really is the best of both worlds. It has all the nuance of the main voice, or at least most of the nuance of the main voice, but it's bright enough to not get lost in the mix. Here's a quick sample of a few piano and electric piano voices. If you want more samples, I've included a longer video at the end of this review that you can check out after I'm done talking. Layering and splitting. Yeah, you can layer any two upper voices and adjust the relative volume and the octave of each. You can also specify whether the sustain pedal applies to the layered voice or not. That's a fantastic feature, especially for things like laying piano over top of strings. When the strings are also being sustained, they can kind of overpower the piano. So this allows you to only apply sustain to the piano voice, which is really cool. You can also split the piano into left and right voices, and you can do that still with the two layered voices in the upper section if you like. So that way you can have a bass or any other voice in the left hand. And by default, the left voice is not sustained, but you can choose to go ahead and sustain it if you want to. Okay, effects and DSP. While I am not one who usually spends much time modifying sounds, there is a massive amount of customization you can do on this piano if that's something that you're interested in. This is an area where the PX-S3000 really does outshine pretty much all of the competition in its price range. First of all, for your piano voices, there's an acoustic simulator that allows you to modify the string resonance, damper resonance, and key on and key off action noise. Then for any voice, you have a massive effects section where you can choose from 12 different types of reverb, and for each one of those types, there are 127 depth layers, which is crazy. There's 12 types of chorus, there's 7 levels of brilliance, and you can also choose to turn a surround effect on or off. Do note that the surround effect only applies when you're using the speakers. And then if the acoustic simulator and the effects aren't enough for you, then there are 100 DSP presets available for you to tinker with your sounds even further. And to go one more step, each of those 100 presets is made up of between 1 and 4 DSP effects that you can drill down into and edit to your liking even further. So there's way too much in this section to try and include here, so I will include some of the effects and the digital signal processing in my full review. Okay, registrations. One of the main reasons I switched from the PX-S1100 to the PX-S3000, besides the user interface, was to take advantage of the 96 onboard registrations. The 1100 only had 4, and they were not on board, they were only if you're using the app. One minor issue I have with the PX-S3000 is that some settings, like preferred touch sensitivity, don't get remembered when the piano is turned off. That was a huge issue with the PX-S1100 because that piano doesn't have onboard registrations. But with the PX-S3000, I can just use up a registration slot for that and just quickly select it when I turn on the piano. So there are 4 areas of registrations, and within each area there are 24 banks. Those are your registrations. I may change how I have this organized later, but for what I've been doing so far is I decided to reserve Area 1 for default setups for different voice types. So for example, I might prefer an even lighter touch sensitivity for electric pianos. Then I'm going to use Areas 2, 3, and 4 for specific setups for actual songs in my repertoire. Note that the display can be a bit confusing at first. It says bank on the front of the piano, but those 4 buttons are actually the areas. You select the bank with the plus and minus buttons. Rhythms and accompaniment. The Casio PX-S3000 has 200 rhythms with optional auto accompaniment. There are 2 variations of each rhythm with fills, synchro start, intros, and endings. Just like the voices, the rhythms are really easy to navigate. They're broken down into categories and subcategories, and there's tons to choose from. Some things to mention that kind of surprised me, and in a good way, is if you manually edit a tempo, then it will automatically lock, which easily allows you to scroll through rhythms without having to reset your tempo. There are separate buttons for main and the variation. Nice thing about this is it allows you to trigger a fill without having to change to the other variation. On some keyboards like the Yamaha PSR E-Series, if you want to trigger a fill, you've got to switch variations. But a big feature that surprised me is that the PX-S3000 includes 6 chord detection modes. But more importantly for me, it includes full keyboard chord detection as one of those modes. While I love playing with backing tracks or rhythms, I'm more of a piano player than an arranger keyboard player. So when I bought my PX-S3000, I was assuming I'd only be using the rhythms without the accompaniment. And if I was using the accompaniment, probably just for kind of practicing and having fun. A big part of how I learned how to play piano is to play kind of a genre-appropriate rhythm pattern in my left hand. So I want to hear my left hand playing. I don't want to just hold down a chord and then have the accompaniment play for me. With that option on this piano, I can now still hear my left hand playing, and the accompaniment uses the entire keyboard to detect my chords. I do have to play with this a bit more, but I can see this actually taking the place of at least some of my backing tracks that I currently use, that I currently make manually. So here's a quick example of the full keyboard chord detection. Connectivity. There's two 1/8 inch headphone ports. They're on the front, thanks Casio. There's a 1/8 inch audio in port on the back. That port was removed from the PX-S1100 when it was upgraded to the 1000, and I found that a bit frustrating. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Good news, though, that the 3100 still has retained that 1/8 inch audio in port, so it's still there on the new version of the 3000. So Bluetooth audio in is built into the PX-S3000, so if I want, I can connect my phone or whatever and stream audio in. I personally will just use the audio in port, but anyway. On the PX-S3100, the onboard Bluetooth was removed in favor of using that same WU-BT10 Bluetooth adapter that you can use on the 1100 to get audio in. This doesn't bother me because I rarely use Bluetooth, and I still have that 1/8 inch audio in port on the 3000. Since the issue I have with it is since the adapter requires the use of the USB Type A port, that means you can't use Bluetooth and a flash drive at the same time. So I'm unable to, if I'm going to use the Bluetooth adapter, plug it into the flash drive port, then I can't save audio files to the flash drive. I'm not sure why Casio just didn't leave the onboard Bluetooth from the 3000. There's a USB to host port for connecting to a device to send MIDI data. I do really wish Casio would catch up to Yamaha and start to include an audio interface in that port. Yamaha's been doing it for years. But there is the workaround, and that is the USB Type A port, which allows you to plug in a flash drive and just record a high-quality direct audio in WAV format to the flash drive. You can also use the flash drive to save and load additional registrations if you need more than 96. There's a 1/4 inch sustain pedal port. A basic brick switch pedal is included. You should definitely upgrade to a nicer pedal. Make sure you get one with a polarity switch so it works with any keyboard. I'll link to one in the description. You can also choose to upgrade to the Casio SP34 triple pedal unit, which has its own proprietary port. I actually got one of those. That gives you a soft and sostenuto pedal as well as sustain, and the sustain pedal in this unit actually supports half pedaling. So if you buy this, you don't need to go get a sustain pedal as well. Then there's a 1/4 inch expression pedal input, and then there's a 1/4 inch left and right audio out ports to connect to external amplification, audio interfaces, etc. So great for recording and gigging. So the other thing you can do with the, if you have that triple pedal unit, you can actually use a switch pedal on both the expression pedal input and on the sustain pedal input. And then you can use those pedals like I am right now for one of them to start and stop rhythms and the other one to throw in rhythm fills. So a lot of pedals to work with, but I'm getting used to it. So other features, portability. The PX-S3000 is super slim and narrow, only weighs 24 pounds and can run on batteries. And unlike most digital pianos with a triple pedal, this triple pedal is portable. Most of them have to be attached to a wooden stand, so they don't really go anywhere. There's a pitch bend wheel, and there's two live control knobs. You can choose from 14 different settings to control various functions on the fly as you play. There's a MIDI song recorder with up to 5 songs and 3 tracks each, and there's a very rudimentary punch-in feature. But nowadays, onboard recording functionality on most keyboards is pretty limited and kind of complicated to use as opposed to just using any of the amazing DAW apps on a computer or a tablet that have nice graphical interfaces. But the MIDI recorder is a great way to quickly capture an idea when creativity strikes. A much more useful feature for recording on the 3000 though is the fact that you can record those high quality audio WAV files direct to a flash drive, because then you can just unplug it, share it with somebody, import it into your DAW software, that type of thing. For you dance music fans, there are 100 auto arpeggiators built in. There are also 16 scale temperaments built into the piano if you want to tune your piano to non-standard tuning. Not a feature I would ever use, but it is there. The speakers are 8 watts per side, 16 total. They face the back, which I'm not crazy about, but they are vented out the front, and they can be turned on as monitors, if you like, when connected to a PA for external amplification. They aren't super loud, but are perfectly fine for practice. One other upgrade apparently to the 3100 is that the material that the speaker cones are built out of has supposedly been upgraded. I really wish I could have tried my PX-S1100 and my PX-S3000 like side by side to try and compare the speakers, because the 1100 also has that upgrade. I wasn't able to do that, but from memory, to be honest, my ears don't really pick up any difference, but apparently there has been a minor speaker upgrade. The PX-S3000 is also compatible with Chordana Play for Piano and the repackaged but basically identical version of that app, Casio Music Space. I'm not going to go over that in this video, but I will say that with the awesome user interface on the PX-S3000, that you don't need to use either of those apps, which is good because they can be quite laggy and at times they do some unpredictable things, but I will go over that in more detail in my full review. If you have a PX-S1100 though, you are probably going to want to use those apps because the interface is so limited on that piano. Okay, the verdict. I've been playing piano now for a couple of years, and my main pianos have been an Alesis Recital Pro, which I traded in on a Roland FP30, traded that in on a Yamaha P125, which I sold because I wanted to check out the Arranger keyboard waters, so I bought a Chord EK50. And then even though I love the user interface and I really like that keyboard, I realized quickly I really felt like getting back to a fully weighted key bed, so I traded that in on my Casio PX-S1100. I love the action and the main sound so much on the PX-S1100 that I thought I'd finally found the right piano for me, but the lack of the user interface combined with PX-S3000s going on sale just led me to switch to the PX-S3000, and this was definitely a great decision. I love the action, fully weighted and graded, but it's on the light side and fast. I really like the matte finish on the keys. The voices are fantastic, and those are only the ones I've discovered so far. There's hundreds still for me to check out. I really like the fact that there are built-in rhythms to practice with, and that the accompaniment offers that full keyboard chord detection because that actually totally suits my playing style. I really like the fact that you can record audio to a USB flash drive and that it has proper left and right line outputs for gigging and connecting to external audio equipment, and it can even run on AA batteries, and it's super slim and light for a fully weighted piano. So with all that in mind, I would enthusiastically recommend the Casio PX-S3000 or the 3100 if it fits in with your needs and your budget, especially if you think you would prefer a piano with a slightly lighter action than normal. You can read and watch thousands of reviews, but you won't really know if you like an action until you try it, so bring your headphones to a music store and spend some time with different pianos you're interested in. That is super important with any digital piano purchase. If you want to check out current prices on Amazon for the Casio PX-S3000 or the PX-S3100, please click my appropriate affiliate links below to check that out. I've also included links to a good generic sustain pedal that has a polarity switch, and also to the Casio triple pedal unit. So check my Amazon links out for prices, but for the PX-S3000, make sure you also check out prices just online from online retailers and from your local retailers as well, because there's a good chance you're going to be able to find one for a deeply discounted price, and I personally think it's a phenomenal deal at the moment. So thanks so much for checking this video out. If you like the content, please smash that like button and feel free to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. That really does help me out. Thanks again, happy piano playing and happy piano shopping. Have an awesome day.